Hello and welcome to Open Door Montessori week 1. During this week, we're kind of setting a foundation of what we're going to go through in the child development through the Montessori Lens course. Just as a reminder, this is a 6-week course and we meet on Wednesdays and Saturdays twice a week, and it's going to be live lectures. So when we get together, we will process, read, think, discuss, and do all of the work when we meet so that you don't have much of what you need to do during the week. You can actually, if you want to, you can listen to different podcasts maybe, or YouTube videos, TEDx talks. You can also purchase books and articles if you want to further deepen your understanding and knowledge in the topic of child development. However, within the context of this course, the only one book that will be required is Understanding the Human Being, written by Silvana Montanaro. It's about the first 3 years of life. And other than that, I really want to have everything that we would be attempting to study to be done within the class. Like what we do in the Montessori classrooms, we don't have homework. Everything that's required is set up within the environment, and children learn during the time that they are in the environment. And we do not have homework. So this is the intention of Open Door Montessori, that all the other modules that you will be, if you consider to go further with your Montessori studies with us, either studying Montessori philosophy or Montessori pedagogy, or environmental design, or personal professional development for Montessori educators, all of those modules will be available to you as well. And through completing modules and attending some of the in-person retreats, you will be able to complete your certification. So this specific lesson is going to be focused on child development-based theories in education, which Montessori is one of them. And this is going to be something we will be learning within this course. But there are others very, very influential and very interesting philosophies, which one of them also will be a big part of within this course is RIE method that was delivered was brought to the States by Magda Gerber, a Hungarian educator back early 1900s. And she was an apprentice or student of Dr. Emmy Pikler, also from Hungary, and Emmy Pikler was a pediatrician. So RIE method is something that's very, very known in California, where Magda Gerber was, and she started her infant and parent-child groups, and she was supporting parents specifically during the first years of the child's life to understand, to observe, to know the development and how to support it. So RIE would be very integral, especially in the first part of child development course. So child development will be a part 1, and then child development part 2. So then the part 1, we will look at RIE and how child development is supported from the very first years of life. And another, which I just mentioned, development-based approach is Pikler, which is also very, very known in Europe, specifically in Hungary. There is a Lossi home, which was an orphanage for children who were orphaned after the World War II, and the government of Hungary gathered them together, and they asked Dr. Emmy Pikler to be a caregiver and a director of that orphanage, which has also revolutionized the understanding of young children and how to care for them based on the natural unfolding of their development. Also, within this first weeks, especially, we will be looking at news, evidence-based science that is very emerging right now, which is pre-perinatal psychology. It was born again in California, in Santa Barbara. There was an Institute of Pre-perinatal Psychology founded by Dr. Chamberlain and some of his colleagues, and we will be discussing and exploring how prenatal and perinatal, which means before birth and first weeks and months after birth, time impacts the child's development and psychology and psych development. So we will be diving into some of the resources. But speaking of child development and why it's so important, and why do we take the child development-based learning and when we approach young children, either at home as parents or as educators in the classroom, is that we approach this as observers, and we approach children with respect to their own self-agency. So we acknowledge and we respect the fact that the child is in charge of their own development. They are growing their own body and strength and muscles by crawling, by turning from back to the belly, by sitting up in the certain times, by pulling themselves. And the biggest part of it is that this is learning. So if we take first 3 years of life, and actually first 6 years of life, learning is the natural way and natural life of young children. They are always learning. So when we are caregivers and sometimes when we are educators, we sometimes think that education is only one way, that we have to transfer certain knowledge and we have to raise children to be good human beings. And it's so important for us to actually understand and accept the truth that children are learning all the time. And we are only able to control and to prepare the environment around them, including ourselves. So child development philosophies are supporting the natural unfolding of child development in the environment, in the physical environment, such as setting up a home certain way or classroom certain way, and observing if the child's development is unfolding in a certain sequence. Meaning that there are milestones that the child, especially from birth to 3, must meet in a physical sense so that the learning and the understanding and the future life of that child is most optimal. So sometimes I see parents and children, parents who would say, "Oh, my parent never crawled. Oh, my parent, I'm sorry. Oh, my child never crawled, and oh, my child is so strong. They're holding up their head within first few days of birth." And understanding child development will help us to actually see and advise the parents to possibly talk to their pediatrician and maybe a cranial sacral therapist to see what exactly happened with the body, within the body of child, that might prevent them to follow this natural unfolding of child development. As a cranial sacral therapist and is knowing a lot of cranial sacral therapists that are in the work of supporting child's development to make sure that is happening in a sequence and in a certain milestones. I know that if the child is missing or jumping through certain stages of development, it's due to some of the uncomfortability in their body that they are adapting. If there's tension, if there is some trauma, if there is some maybe weakness in the muscles. So instead of thinking that our child is so advanced that they're skipping certain milestones, now understanding about child development based educators, we will know that this might be due to some other factors and not necessarily good factors that we can advise parents and also observe within our classrooms and within our homes if we are parents what to look for. So it's not necessarily that we are becoming experts out of sudden and we are taking place of practitioners who are specializing in that. We just inform our observations and we get our toolbox ready for things to see and also how to bring those resources to parents. We remember that as educators, we are guides for our parents as well. We're not authoritarians, we're not specialists. We only can bring this knowledge in a way that serves the parents best if we're in the classroom and leave the decisions up to the parents. But in your own work, and maybe if you are a parent and early childhood educator, this content and this pre and perinatal psychology and child development approach to observations and preparing the environment and education will help you to empower you to know what needs to happen first and what happens next so that your observations are accurate and they inform your supporting and your preparation in the classroom. So I'm looking forward to seeing you in our class. This is where majority of our learning will be happening. There is not much going to be in this environment in a recorded format. You will have recording of our classes if you miss. You will also have some articles and maybe sometimes you will be directed to our podcast and Wellness Studio to supplement your learning. But for the purposes of this specific module, which is intended to be live, we will be learning and seeing presentations, discussing, reading, and reflecting together in a group in the group relational field and dynamic on Wednesdays and Saturdays. So I'm looking forward to seeing you, and please check in with me if you have any questions at contact@worldsongschools.com. All right, I'll see you soon.